Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and felt a strange heaviness, as if an invisible force were quietly telling you, "Don't get up yet"? Before you think it is laziness or a lack of discipline, stay with me. What you are about to learn may completely shift the way you understand yourself. Carl Jung believed that this impulse to remain still is not a failure, it is a message. And if you ignore it, you might be missing the exact signal your soul has been trying to send for a very long time. Modern society trained us to think that resting is a flaw, that slowing down means you are falling behind, that not being constantly productive is a sign of weakness. But Jung discovered something far more profound. Sometimes the psyche shuts down because it is trying to protect you. He called this process psychic incubation, a moment when the unconscious begins reorganizing everything beneath the surface. Imagine your mind as a system undergoing a full upgrade. To complete that process, it needs you offline for a while. Here is where it gets even more interesting, and this is your first warning to keep watching. Jung observed that the body often senses the truth long before the conscious mind. When you feel the urge to lie still, it is not because you are unmotivated, it is because a deeper part of you realizes that something in your current life is out of alignment. That heaviness is not resistance. It is wisdom. Now let's move to something Jung considered critical, the different kinds of soul fatigue. Understanding which one you are experiencing can reveal exactly what your inner self is trying to say. First, there is the fatigue of misalignment. When the life you are living no longer matches who you are becoming, your inner energy simply refuses to support outdated roles and responsibilities. It is as if your psyche whispers, "I will not give energy to what no longer represents you." Second, there is the fatigue of unprocessed grief. This is not only about losing a person. It includes the end of relationships, the collapse of old dreams, or even the death of an old version of yourself. Grief consumes an enormous amount of psychic energy, leaving very little for daily life. Third, there is emotional overload, that feeling of absorbing the emotions of others, the chaos of the world, and the weight of expectations. Sensitive people especially experience this. The urge to lie down becomes the soul's way of saying, "I need purification." Here comes the mid-video hook. There are moments in life when you feel stuck not because you're failing, but because you're transforming. And if you stop watching here, you may never discover which transformation your soul is trying to begin right now. Fourth, there is the fatigue of life transitions, career shifts, aging phases, relationship changes. Jung compared this to a snake shedding its skin, a vulnerable moment when rest is not optional but necessary. Fifth, there is the fatigue of blocked creativity. Jung believed that unused creative energy can mutate into apathy, sadness, or lack of motivation. The soul tries to call attention to itself, "Stop wasting my potential." Before we close this first part, here is the final hook that keeps the viewer watching. What if your desire to stay in bed is not a sign of weakness, but the beginning of the biggest inner transformation of your entire life? In the next section, I will show you how to interpret these signals with surprising clarity, and once you understand them, nothing in your inner world will ever feel the same again. If you are still here, it is probably because something inside you whispered, "This is about me." And it is. What Jung revealed about the mind's silent messages is powerful, and in this part, you will learn how to decode them. But before we continue, prepare yourself. Some answers will come from places inside you that you haven't visited in years. Jung believed that when the soul tries to stop you, the worst thing you can do is fight it. Resisting your own inner signals is like arguing with the part of you that knows the truth before you do. So instead of forcing productivity, Jung recommended a different question. What is my inner self trying to protect me from? To help people understand these inner messages, Jung proposed a simple yet profound practice, the soul journal. Whenever you feel that deep urge to lie down, instead of judging yourself, pick up a piece of paper and write whatever thoughts flow through your mind, without structure or censorship. Jung discovered that seemingly random thoughts often reveal deep emotional patterns when written freely. He also suggested 3 fundamental questions to ask during these low-energy states. 1. What am I trying to shield myself from? 2. What in my current life has stopped serving me? 3. Which version of me is trying to emerge? These questions bypass logic and speak directly to the unconscious. And here comes the mid-part hook. Most people never discover their true purpose because they never stop long enough to hear the part of themselves that already knows the answer. Jung also explains something paradoxical: sometimes the most powerful action a person can take is to do absolutely nothing. In a culture obsessed with constant performance, resting becomes a quiet rebellion, an act of self-respect. When you allow yourself to pause intentionally, you shift from escape to transformation. He called this practice active rest, lying down not to avoid life, but to reconnect with your deepest self. It is meditation disguised as stillness. Jung noticed something fascinating: after periods of psychic incubation, people often make radical life changes, changing careers, ending relationships, starting new paths they never imagined. It is as if the soul uses silence to reorganize the entire personality. But how do you know that the incubation phase is ending? He described 3 clear signs. 1. Your dreams become more vivid. 2. You suddenly feel a spark of enthusiasm for things you had abandoned. 3. Insights appear unexpectedly, as if a light turned on in a dark room. Here is the final hook for this part. If you understood how close you are to a breakthrough, you would treat your tiredness not as an obstacle but as a compass. In the next part, you will learn how to transform this laziness into a complete inner rebirth, something that could redirect the entire course of your life. You've come far, and that already means something important: a part of you is ready for change. Jung believed that true inner transformation begins when you stop seeing rest as failure and start treating it as a sacred message. Now, in this final part, we will bring everything together: what the soul is asking for, why society misunderstands it, and how you can turn this moment into a rebirth. To begin, remember this: we live in a world that worships constant productivity. Society values what you do, but rarely who you are. Jung warned that this creates a dangerous illusion, the belief that slowing down means losing value. But some of the greatest minds in history, from artists to scientists to philosophers, only reached their deepest insights after long periods of stillness. Rest is not an interruption. Rest is preparation. That is why Jung described the act of stopping as an act of courage. In a world that refuses to pause, choosing silence is revolutionary. It means you trust that something meaningful is happening beneath the surface. Here comes your mid-part hook. What if the moment you have been calling rock bottom is actually the doorway to the strongest version of yourself you have ever met? Jung viewed rest as a sacred right. Not a luxury. Not laziness. A fundamental need for psychological survival. Your mind, your emotions, and your spirit require cycles, and denying them is like denying your own humanity. He believed that when the soul refuses to move, it is not sabotaging you. It is protecting you from continuing a life that no longer reflects your truth. It is stopping you so that a new identity can rise. And now we arrive at the final message, the one that, if you truly understand, can change everything. Your desire to lie down is not the problem. It is the signal. It is the alarm. It is the beginning of transformation. Instead of criticizing yourself, try gratitude. Your soul is guiding you in the only way it can, by forcing you to pause so you can finally hear what it has been trying to say for years. And here is the final hook to close your video with impact. If this message resonated with you, then your transformation has already begun. The question is, will you continue ignoring your soul, or will you finally listen to the truth it has been whispering all along?